I want to welcome everyone and thank you for joining us on behalf of Unveiled, Bridging the Gap to Sponsorship. My name is Jamie Sanderson. Unveiled is a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to enabling equitable access through bold conversations, tangible action, and a community committed to transforming systems. By reimagining access, opportunity, and sponsorship, we're building a world where access to opportunities isn't reserved for a lucky few. Our fireside chats are safe, bold spaces where we have real conversations with change makers who are challenging the status quo, leading with purpose, and showing what's possible. As you listen, we invite you to join the movement. So engage with us through comments here during the chat, on our LinkedIn post, and our monthly newsletters that come out on our website, unveiledbridgingthegap.org. We welcome you to become a member of our growing network at any of our 4 membership tiers. And you can also support our mission through a donation to ensure that we can continue offering programming and events like these. We have 2 big programs coming up if you press pause. And I have a very special announcement today that I'm so excited about. We have an in-person event coming up on October the 15th in New York. It's an exclusive event that's going to be celebrating 3 years of equitable access through sponsorship and also unveiling the name of our book that will capture insights from the successes. So please go to our website and get your tickets before they're gone. It's going to be a great event. And those are my announcements. Now, what we're here for today is to hear an amazing conversation between Marydee Marchan and Brandy Walton. So I want to give you an intro of their backgrounds. Our host, Marydee, is an innovation and R&D leader with 20 plus years of experience advancing product and process development across the food, dietary supplement, and nutraceutical industries. Currently, she's the Director of Research and Development at Simply Good. She has also held leadership roles at Smarty Pants Vitamins, Amway, Mars, and Soft Gel Technologies. With a background in chemical engineering and food science, Marydee is known for applying technical rigor and consumer insight to deliver breakthrough products while cultivating collaborative, high-performing teams that drive impact at scale. Personally, it's an honor to see you here, Marydee. We were in the same cohort, and she's I think everything in that background is amazing, but what I saw was really that team element and the empathy as a leader and really elevating her team. So excited to hear you and have you host us today. Our special featured guest is Brandy Walton, who is a commercial leader with 20 plus years of experience driving launch and growth strategies in biotech and pharma. Beginning in the field sales, she advanced to roles in sales, marketing, training, and operations, leading US and global rollouts for billion-dollar brands across oncology, rare disease, cardiovascular, pediatrics, and GI. Known for turning complexity into clear, actionable plans, Brandy combines strategic rigor with a people-first approach that empowers teams to excel. She holds an MBA and MHA from the University of Texas and an AI and pharma certification from MIT Sloan. Now, without further ado, I'm really happy to hand over to Marydee and Brandy here. I mean, these ladies are so smart. I'm so glad that I wasn't responsible for having to lead the conversation here. I don't think I could, but it's going to be exciting to hear the science and the people side of pharma. And so we're looking forward to it. Just a reminder to all the participants, feel free to use the chat. I'll be monitoring it. And if you have a burning question, just raise your hand. I'm sure that Marydee will be able to bring your comments in along the way. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Jamie. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to have this conversation with Brandy. You are so approachable, so I think this is going to be fun.
I'm excited too.
I would say, in your case, you said that it was not a unique process to get to where you are, but I think you have done a lot of interesting work in startups and global organizations, which I think, especially in the pharmaceutical industry, that is very important. And today is a very unique position to be at. So when you look back a little bit about your career, what core mindset or approach has guided you through all the changes especially when you are changing positions and companies?
Yeah, that's a great question. Where our commonality and where we kind of hinge together is our love for science. So I will say before the careers, before college, I genuinely loved science. I love biology. I love chemistry. I love the understanding of it. And that has always been at the core of the different roles that I've chose. I will say the mindset that has led me on the journey that truly started in sales, ended into leadership, training, was my natural curiosity. I am a person who loves to learn. And so when you love to learn, you actually have that foundation of being vulnerable. You have the foundation of being curious and sometimes being very uncomfortable because you don't know. That is the essence. So when I look to new roles and within the organization or even outside of an organization, those are the two pillars that I always have. One is it surrounded by my love of science and love of biology, and now really the love of understanding and being close to patients. And then what will I learn? What will I be able to garner and continue to grow? Because I believe that learning is what keeps us young, and that has been my mindset from journey to journey.
Yes, I think that is a very good way to see. It's the only way that you're gonna stay on top of the science. I always tell my team is curiosity. If you don't have curiosity, then you are in the wrong place because science is always evolving.
Yeah.
It's a moving target. So yes, science requires curiosity for sure. And I think I'm very happy that people with your background are also in the sales organizations because you can understand also what people that are trying to find the right can be ingredient or it can give the right product can understand and have empathy for the work that people are doing behind the scenes. So I'm happy to hear that. So you have been described as someone who can turn complexity into clarity. Can you give me a little bit of an example of a time when your leadership style helped a team cut through noise and deliver results?
Yeah, I think one of those, the complexity to execution, if I can be real candid, it's because how I grew up. So, quite honestly, I grew up in a family clinician. My dad, he did manufacturing. I am a family of learners, really brilliant individuals. And so I would watch my mother teach people the simplicity of nursing and that passion around it. To her, I hear her talking about open heart surgery, but she made it seem something similar to baking a cake. And I know that's not the same, but she took passion in making the complex simple, because just because something is simple doesn't mean that it's not complex. And so for me, when I'm approaching a problem, and when we're looking at one of the examples, I will say, I like to say I grew up in big pharma, meaning the Novartises and the Abbotts of the world. When you really think about these type of organizations, they actually, sometimes you do the history, hundreds of years. So the systems and processes are well-oiled machines. But if you're in those roles, you may have the opportunity to enhance and grow. But when you go into biotech, some of this is truly building from the ground up. So when I'm approaching a team, I like to help them remember, you've seen what the Cadillac looked like. You've seen what the best can be. But now put yourself in, I love Hondas too. What does it mean for us to get to point A and point B? What does it mean from that Honda? So it's really helping them understand that, yes, we know what great looks like, but let's take it back to the basics of the basics and start there. The other piece in taking complexity to clarity for me is thinking about the end user. And because of the industry that in, I always go back to the patient. How does this process, how does this system, how does the work that we do, no matter where you are in the organization, how do you trace it back to the patient? And sometimes that simple mindset and process helps you get to the tasks that are needed immediately or most important to complete. Um, and then ruthlessly moving out the noise, especially with AI and technology and things changing so fast. You know, the shiny new toy can really guide us with a lot of decisions. But once you've done that work to get back to the patient, to get back to what's important, it really helps to streamline. And I am a big fan of documenting the process because I'm naturally curious. I try a lot of things, I fail at a lot of things. But I do what I feel over time have learned that when you capture, and whether that's you're a journaler, I know we got a lot of AI note takers now, but to me, write it down. When you capture that, you have the record of that success, and then you move forward and continue to implement. So I think for me, that is a process that has worked for me to go from complex to clarity, and then more importantly, to review. And I have something what I like to call an after action review. It's what they use in the military. But after you've completed a process, after you've completed a project, take the time to pause and say what worked well, what didn't work well, what would you do again, and what would you absolutely never try ever again. From there, and you repeat those processes, and this could be whether you're baking a cake, this could be building a CRM system, this could be truly standing up a sales organization. Those rhythms are things that you can apply over and over into your toolkits to really keep going forward.
It's interesting because, like, even people say, "Oh, we both come from the science world," but everybody has a different background. I like when you said from your military world because um, in the engineering world we say lessons learned. So you
Yeah.
always have to have a lessons learned. I think as a human, we always are gonna have three basic things, as you mentioned, like what is the human factor, how that is affecting what I do, and how I'm gonna make sure that I don't repeat the same mistakes and learn from them. So I'm glad that that helps you in your career, because it's something that regardless where you are in your career, or regardless what type of company you are, it's gonna be always very helpful.
Yeah. And I think to add to that, Marydee, one of the things, and this is we both are in different cohorts, but one of the things that has resonated most with me in that piece is also taking the pause. So we work at a breakneck speed, especially with technology, but there is just excellence in taking a pause, one, to think and think deeply, but two, to also reflect on what has happened and what occurs. And I think as you do that practice as an individual, but more importantly with a team, just get in the room and think and whiteboard, you start to see that simplicity around a lot we do.
Is in this world that we are going so fast that sometimes taking that pause can be a little bit difficult. I also wanted to know a little bit more about the process. I mean, sometimes people think because I'm an engineer, I always want to create a process for everything. But I think creating a frame of mindset to cultivate what exactly are the steps to get to a point, how you help your team to have the mindset to ensure that they follow a process or they create a process when that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I think people always think about the process, and I always I like to start at the end. What do we want to achieve? And is everybody aligned with the goal? Because you can't have a process if you don't know where your target is. So before we can build a process, before we can say where we want to go, like all of those things, first, let's say, what do we want to achieve? When do we want to achieve it? And then start to map out the buckets and the process piece of that comes along. I think that alignment at the very beginning is the most important, and oftentimes the place where many people, I would say, get lost in what they're trying to do and achieve. The other thing for me is defining what operational excellence is. So if you're in a biotech startup, sometimes operational excellence is starting. It is truly not the Cadillac, it's not the piece. One of my secret weapons is the daily huddle. Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's checking in, say, are we on track? Did we achieve what we wanted to needed to do? And then taking those pivots very, very quickly as we move along that process that we've set along. These type of, I would say, rhythms and that really set the stage for you to get to those processes, or to get to build a process to get that rhythm working, are key. I think we just got a real life version of how to recalculate and get a mindset around the process.
Yes, it
So I will actually use what we just went through. So at the end of the day, I wanted to make sure we delivered a great presentation to you guys. So how I get my team around this is have a backup to the backup. So what you can't see is my little personal hotspot here, because I knew at the end of the day, I wanted everyone to be able to hear what I said and still deliver on time. So for me, having a process is knowing at the end of the day, who do we want to achieve this for? What is most important? Taking the time to pause and switch if needed in the process, but having that backup so you can keep going down the track. For me, operational excellence, what that really means is, have we achieved the goal? Did we achieve the goal in the time frame? And have that plan A, plan B, C working and ready to pivot when you need to pivot. The other piece, and I think the mindset around that, is continuing to move forward. My internet just failed about 2 or 3 times on here. But we can just keep going and having the conversation ready, because we've taken the time to think through some solutions to be able to enact that. And then getting comfortable with it. Most people probably like, oh my gosh, there's people out. Let's just keep laughing and talking, because at the end of the day, I know this is a conversation that's needed for everyone. And this is not just for the presentation. This is the mindset that I have with my team, whether they're cross-functional, reporting directly to me, but if you're definitely working with me, this is how we move forward and how you embed that mindset with everyone. So you guys got a real world experience of how do you keep the process going?
And to be honest, I think the way that you actually manage this situation is also very important for a team when you are trying to achieve any task, because sometimes things like this happen and you need to stay calm and making sure we're gonna get there. It might not be perfect
so
at this
goes
moment.
the leader, so goes the team. And if I've taken the time to think through what could happen, what hasn't, you're looking to me for that guidance, and this can be applied into anything. And even if you don't know, if teams just said, not today, Brandy, it's Friday. Okay, hey, I don't know, but I do know the cell phone number to dial in. You just want to hear the words and the voice. And that's also when you perform and show that way, that goes to your team as well. They may not know the answer, they may not have plan B, plan C, but they know, if I stay calm, think through the solutions, knowing where we want to go, we will get back on track and keep moving forward.
Totally agree. I'm very glad to hear that you do that with your team, because sometimes people forget that at the end of the day, we all want to succeed and we want to do a good job, but we just have to help each other in the journey. So, and if you have steps on the way where you kind of, okay, I know that is where I need to go. It might not be perfect at this time, but I have the right leader that is helping me to get there. So thank you for doing
it's
that.
It's even in the title, Marydee, when you think about it, it's not operational perfection. It is operational excellence. And excellence is something that's developed over time. There's a consistency to excellence and an expectation. Perfection, that is not the case. So if you have the mindset of excellence, you will deliver that every single time.
Exactly. And you are setting expectation what excellence means to you and to the project. Not to you, to the project, to the product that you are delivering. That you have been a leader, and then you also have been led, and you have a sponsor that have opened doors for you. Can you share a little bit of story of a sponsorship that has been pivotal for your career, and what have you learned about being back or moving forward, how you can help other ones to just to by you being the sponsor of those people that you get the opportunity to sponsor.
Yeah, I love this question because when when I actually go into interviews or people talk about the track, it is not your atypical model of how there's like a jump here and a jump here. And I will say that my career has truly been blessings of sponsors or mentors, sometimes tricking me, but definitely leading me to opportunities that either I just didn't know about, or even have the ability to dream that big. And the one that, I would just, very candidly, I wanted to be a super rep for the rest of my life. I love pharmaceutical sales. I love the engagement with HCPs and the impact to patients, because remember I talked earlier about the curiosity and the science, and it's a fantastic career opportunity. But I went through the leadership tracks, I had a leader who's now a country head of some country and doing a lot of great things. But he had come to our team and he noticed I'm very strategic. That's naturally the human that I am, and was building all these presentations and doing extra learning. And in one of our one-on-ones, he's also was a McKinsey guy, which I did not know a lot about the world of consulting at all. I just knew you brought these brilliant people in who had great power. And during one of our one-on-ones as the leader, he asked me, had I ever been introduced into strategy and operations? Number one, I did not know what strategy and operations was. I thought they were the people who were the matrix at the organization. They show up, things happen, and then they go back and they send you a PowerPoint about it. So the answer was absolutely no. I have not considered that. I don't know what that is. But because I'm naturally curious, he convinced me to try for this opportunity in the organization where you genuinely immerse yourself into a role completely different and outside of the scope that you have been experienced. And two things that loved and frightened me about it. Most of the roles that I have been a part of, I either had worked closely with the individuals as collaborators or had some type of experience. This was totally out of my realm. I did not know what they did or what they do. So what was supposed to be 3 months turned into 9 months, which has turned into the back half of my career, because this individual really helped me see some of the skill sets that I naturally possessed. My natural affinity for curiosity, execution, and excellence has turned into a passion that I genuinely love to do. And what I've learned about this individual, and what I learned through Unveiled and the true power of sponsorship, long before he had ever approached me, there was conversations about who possessed these skill sets and discussions around that. And I was, blown away. So as my career continues to go, and then through the Unveiled program, I learned the power of sponsorship. I learned the power and the difference between mentoring, because I think mentoring is very, very important. And I've been through many female, leadership programs all across the board, but they don't really tell you the true difference until you feel the power that sponsorship can have, and that you sometimes have to play a stronger part to be able to earn that right for someone to use their, I call, leadership credibility on your behalf. And it has been, it was the pivotal point in my career, because now I'm in, when people say, what do you do? I still describe myself as the matrix, because you feel it, you know it, but you don't really realize the impact that you have. But I still can trace my every step that our team does back to the patient. I still have that foundational learning of biology and chemistry and the science that we do. But more importantly, I feel I'm truly in a place that I can pay it forward. So in working and partnering with groups like Unveiled, or doing learning sessions with others to say, in the pharma biotech world, there are many careers and many ideas and on many skill sets that you can lean into. So for me, the power and passion of mentoring is hands down something that I always do, because others, whether I knew it or not, was doing that for me. And I will always, always, always lean into others and help them along this journey.
Thank you for sharing. I think all of us that has been somehow involved with Unveiled know that it's like when you don't know what you don't know,
Right.
you don't use, it's a skill
You
that
don't
you
know.
don't use.
You don't know.
But until you, I mean, in my case, like you said, oh, a mentor or a coach, but learning about sponsorship really open, and sometimes you do it by nature, but you don't have a word to describe it. But then being involved with Unveil, now you have a word and you know how important it is, not just for you, also for other people that you are helping along the way. And I think also helping them to understand that is their job also, that sometimes people is giving you the opportunity or is sponsoring you and you don't realize this is the opportunity that I'm giving, because it's knowing your DNA to understand what is coming or what is happening around you. But I think it's I like what you're saying. When somebody gives you that opportunity, it's very important also for you to do it for somebody else, because sometimes that person doesn't know they have those skills.
They don't know. But I think also it's important to remember, like, the foundational things that we talked about earlier. Always do excellent work. Always, and not
Yeah.
for not just for my role. I do excellent work because I believe that's a reflection on me and my character. I do excellent work for my faith. Always go above and beyond because of your passion. One thing I knew: if you don't love it, it's gonna be hard to do it really, really well. And we don't always have that, the blessing to say, I'm in that piece, but find what you love about what you do, or what you can do to be and do excellent work. Not to be recognized, not to have all that should just be your core foundational of who you are. And because you do these things, what I have learned in organizations like Unveiled, and where I did have to tweak is, just because you do excellent work doesn't mean that people know it or recognize you. You have to be comfortable promoting and sponsoring yourself. And if the mentor doesn't exist, we have brilliant resources and tools and books and AI to be your own mentor, be your own person until you get those opportunities to connect. So you truly do own your development. You own your career, you own those pieces. And I think have to change a mindset that it's someone else's responsibility to bring it for you. It's truly yours. And when it's supposed to be, it will happen. It absolutely does. And I make it a point to try to be that individual for others whenever I possibly can.
Sometimes people tells you you don't need to have the job to do it. If you need to feel empowered to actually act and have the skills and develop yourself to get, even if you don't have the title. Sometimes I see specifically more in some of my team members, they need to have the title first. And I think that is something that we need to have a different mindset. As you said, you can start building those skills without having the title yet. And then when that helps you also, when you get there, feel more comfortable doing the job. For some of us, some things are going to be natural, and some things that you're going to have to go out of your way to learn, because it's a skill that is going to help you regardless if you get the title or not. Have you seen that too in your career with some of the people that you sponsor or you have led?
Absolutely. First thing I always say, whether young, wherever they are in their career, act for the role you want. If you want to be a leader, but you're acting like an individual contributor, understand what it takes to be a leader. Show those traits to be a leader. If the opportunity doesn't exist in your organization, one of the tools that I've personally done, and I also mentor others to do, is we can lead in our community. Are there organizations that you can take leadership positions in? Are there boards that you can take positions in? Your church, your library? Leadership and skills don't just have to be built at work. They can be built into your life. And when you build it into your life, that it truly becomes a part of you. Early, when I wanted to transition into leadership, in many of these organizations, the pipeline is very, very long. And if you're not in a certain program or you're not in certain things, it does take quite a bit of time. So I took the path through HBA. And because HBA is a great organization where if you want to get leadership skills, if you want to learn how to bring people together and collaboration and programs in a large scale, and I'm based in Dallas, Texas, in a big environment, it's a great ground for understanding how to do that. Unveiled has tremendous amount of opportunities and projects for you to lean into arenas that you may or may not have the skill set. So I think now it's getting creative to understand truly what you want to do. And if the path doesn't exist in the organization that you have, how can you look into your life and figure out where you can get those skills and practice those skills in those other arenas and bring that forward in your conversations when you're applying for that role. I also, and that is part of I call my leadership mindset. I tend to look for talent, not just have you done the role, but do you have the capability to do the role, and truly looking at cross-functional skill sets. I am a product of that. I am a product of that cross-functional look of how I executed the things that I was doing, where others were sponsoring me for the positions, entities that I did not know, but they saw that in what I was doing in other areas and in the world. So it is something that I truly believe in, and I coach and mentor everyone that it should be a part of your philosophy, and also to stay sharp in the current position that you have, or if you want to stay ahead in your current role as well.
I totally agree. It's a mindset, and it's a continuous improvement, continuous work. It never ends. I'm glad that you are helping others in that journey. So in the biotech, since especially in the science, coming also from the science work, but in the biotech, it's changing, and AI is touching every corner of our world, and especially now so many new discoveries, and especially like in my world, GLP-1 is changing my world, but it's not just AI. But how do you balance the need of innovation with the discipline of operational rigor?
Pause and a strategy. So if you look across a lot of organizations, many people are saying we have to do AI because we're going to get left behind. There's some truth to that, but I think they jump to the tool, or they jump to the resources, versus taking that pause to say, what is our strategy? How does this align to our profitability? How does this align to our core before jumping to the resource? And that's the number one thing when I say how I stay disciplined. Before I get a new tool, before I buy a new shoe, how does this align to my wardrobe? How does this align to my overall aesthetic that I want to deliver? And applying that to business is the same with AI. There are many, many tools. It will continue to ever change. And if you realize that, hey, which many companies don't and are starting to, we do not have a strategy. We do not have the IT infrastructure. We do not have the legal infrastructure yet in place to move forward. So once you start to build the foundation first, I think that gives you the ability to pivot really quickly. And when you look at, I call it the Googles of the world, or the others, that they have built the foundations and the infrastructure needed to be able to go that fast. So I think a lot of companies, yes, You will get left behind if you don't participate, but what will help you stay ahead of the curve is to do the foundational work to build your AI strategy first, then move in accordance to the needs of your business. I think that's how you really try to balance that growth there.
I appreciate this comment that you said, building the strategy, because I think a lot of leaders just going too fast and not stopping to see, okay, how that is gonna in the long term, how we want to make sure that we show up to the world, how we use this tool in the right way. So I'm glad that you are doing that, because it's not everybody's stopping to think through what is important. So I also have a question here in the chat, and said, what roles can you mention you are looking or helping others to feel? Like how, when you have probably the question will be, now that you have a more a position of influence, what usually is the type of people that you might be helping more? I will rephrase the question, I would say.
I will say the beauty of LinkedIn is you get to connect with people across all industries. So I don't just, I mean, while I do have quite a few connections in the pharma and biotech world, where I start to see more people is making that transition sometimes from an individual contributor to a leader is where I really, have the essence. Or if they're doing, which, I've also have the experience of a career pivot. What do I need to look at? Well, this is like much, much scary. It's different to change roles into a position, but think about actually changing careers or changing insights. So it really just depends. There are many industries I have no insight about, but I do know if you're a great worker, you work hard, and you do and understand and the subject matter expert in that area, some of these are just basics that would apply to any type of position. So, but the ones that I really do get passionate about is those new leaders. And when I want I think your leadership, there's titles and then there's leaders. And I think many people have had titles, but you don't have to have the leader of a title to be a leader. You can, and so a lot of people should reflect on, do I want the title or do I want the responsibilities? Because it is different, and it can be very different, and it's something for you to pause and think, but it's pretty broad.
Yes, we are right now in the time of the year where you are talking to your team about development plans.
Yeah.
And I always ask that question, is like, when you are a leader, you have a responsibility, and because you have human being under you that you want to develop. So are you sure this is the path that you want to take? Because it's a responsibility. It's not just the leader to have the title. And that is a key point, that it has to be remind ourselves as a leader is, do you have the passion to make people go in the growth and make them to understand what are their paths to grow? So another question that is coming from the chat is, he says that, what is the view on organization politics? What is your view on organization politics? And what are some ways to be aware of this?
Well, this is a great lesson in learning, because I will tell you, earlier in my career, I didn't have a view. I'm not the human to participate. I treat people how they should be treated, and I just decided I'm not going to play that game. I'm just not going to play that game. What I learned quickly is I still don't play politics, but I am more vocal about things I see and things that I know. And you do have to, what I learned too in that process is many of the conversations that were being had already occurred before the meeting or after the meeting. So once, to me, politics is really just understanding how does your organization work? Where are decisions truly made? And then once you understand that, then you can be a part of that decision-making process. And that's how I choose and have been successful in that. Will I say that sometimes it has hindered or slowed my growth? Maybe. But for me, it didn't. I ultimately got to where I needed to go that allowed to my values, and that was important to me. For me, and when I look at an organization and when I look at the type of environments that I want to work, to me, culture is not what you put on the website. It's not what they gave to you in your onboarding packet. The people really are the culture. And when you're doing really hard work, and that's, sometimes even scary, I put more weight into who are the individuals that I'm going to be working with, what are their values, how does that work come to play? And I put way more weight into that. And some cultures are for me and some cultures weren't. So that's how I navigated it. But once I understood what it was, then you can make the decision on how you want to apply that to you. I'm a very competitive person. I don't look to the other side. I always compete with Brandy. So that really helped me kind of get that laser focus on those areas. But it's politics is really understanding how decisions get made in your organization.
Totally agree. I think, as you said, it is there. It's a culture. Each company will have their own. While working in one company and the politics of, I have learned, especially in international companies, that like for me, what was being direct in a company, in another one was no.
Yeah.
And that was a lesson learned. But I think that you said sizing, that is very important, as you said. And when you are either in getting into the company or when you are interviewing, those are things that are going to be an important skill that you have to start learning early, because that is a place where you're going to spend a lot of your days.
A lot of time. And I mean, a great interview question is, how are decisions made in the organization? Especially in the hybrid world right now that we are still, navigating through. More and more companies are, while they are in the office, you still have a hybrid situation. So when you might have half that are hybrid, the other half that are in, where is the decision-making process? Who's responsible for those types of pieces? And then sometimes even getting out of your comfort zone. I've had the ability to work in virtual organizations for the last couple of roles, but was very intentional about making connections within my city or in the other place, because I knew some of those decisions that we're making, that's how decisions were made in those live meetings and then pulled through on the virtual aspect of it. That's you learn that is understanding the rhythms of the organization. But it's an excellent question.
Yes, I agree. How you design the environment where people not only execute but also feel connected to purpose? It's a little bit of a combination of the previous question, but also more about how you create that environment, how you help to create or foster the culture where people feel connected to the purpose of the company while they are executing, of course.
I think for me, what has worked really, really well in, when people look at, I call it your leadership profile, there's a couple of things they may say about you. For me, there's like, I call it a figure outer. I may not know, but I'm never afraid to learn, and I learn very quickly. The other piece is I am a culture champion because I thrive in environments where the culture, it doesn't always have to be perfect, but the people really are those individuals. And how I make people feel connected is I take the time to know people. I really am intentional about, I call it tea time with Brandy. It might be 10 or 15 minutes, but I want to know where your kids play soccer. I want to know if there's not, I want to know what's important to you, why you do what you do. And then I do a lot of work of making sure people understand the roles of the people that they work with are curious about. Because in the world that we move so quickly, and in this, a lot of organizations and the individuals that I work with, they're truly subject matter experts. They've been doing this work for 20, 30 years, and it's easy to get very siloed. But when you take the time, I call myself the human super glue, to connect the person from finance with the person that's a field rep, and they know that they're all somehow connected to a patient. that's when you really get to understand the drivers of the culture and why it is important to get that expense report approved on time, or why it's important that they have this additional resource when they're in the field and why it costs this way. But you can only do that if you take the time to pause, look up, and understand why we're still driving for that patient piece. And I am the creator of that in almost every organization that I go through, because in the roles that I work in, it's important for me to pull and do the work through other people. And I learned very early on, many people don't know what they do. And what it does is creates consistency and what true collaboration looks like. I don't have to do your job. I don't have to, have a deep understanding, but I understand the impact that you have. So I can now play my part in moving that forward. And it does, when you have that, it also in times when it is high stress and things do go wrong, that's where the grace comes in with others when they have the understanding piece of that. That's how I help people feel connected to the purpose. And it's a mantra. If we forget, when you have those operational rhythms of why are we doing this, who are we serving, and helps us pivot, it's a constant reminder of because of the pace that we go. That's how you keep the teams connected and moving forward. And it served me thus well. I made some tweaks in the process. Sometimes tea time with Brandy might be wine with Brandy, but whatever it is that works best for the individual, you change that. But the connection to humans is vital. That's a great question.
I agree. I do what we call time to share. And then you also, like you just mentioned, you have to size your team, because some people are more individual, more introverts, and then they want to just have the time with you. But other ones, they like that environment where everybody is hearing what other people's projects or interests are, so then you can connect it with them. That portion is so key in creating the culture. So we only have 4 more minutes, but we still have a question, and it's coming from Jamie. What advice do you have for new leaders aiming to build relationships in their company? I will say relationships, I will say everywhere, like up and down and lateral.
I think this has worked for me. Sometimes when you're at work, whether you're in a live setting or if you're virtual, it's really easy to get lost in the work. It's so easy. I think the first thing you have to do is be uncomfortable and reach out. A lot of people actually I know I personally have more success with connecting with people at my company on LinkedIn than I did in the company. Because when we're at work, they're going from meeting to meeting, they're doing these. But if they share a great post, or I do like, hey, do you want to grab, 10 minutes for a virtual tea? 10 minutes for this. Be willing to connect. Oftentimes people, they are open to saying yes, but you have to put yourself out there to ask. The other thing is be intentional with your ask. Especially if they're a senior leader, it's really hard to come by 30 minutes sometimes, depending on the level that they are. But I found that the magic number is 10 or 15. Everyone can 5-10 minutes, and everyone can 5-15. Hey, I have 1 or 2 questions, or I'd like to get your opinion on something of that. But you be very respectful of their time, and then earn that time. When you're there, come prepared, be intentional, have done some homework, a little bit about them, and engaging in enough, and ask for follow-up time. And then give yourself, I would say, the grace of planning. It's not haphazard, but look across your organization, look across the org chart in teams that you have. Like, I have no idea what they do. I am very curious. Could you give me 10 minutes to walk through, what's important to your team, and how does this relate back to the patient? A lot of people are really excited to share that information, and that you took the time to do it. And then you have to, we go back to that operational excellence, the consistency. Make yourself a goal. Okay, 2 people this week, 20 minutes this month. I will meet with 2 more individuals and go from there and build that through. And then the last but not least, the beauty part that I always say that some people forget, say thank you. Whether it's a note, it's an email, they have cool little video chats. Say thank you. That is the way to consistently build relationship with those leaders in your organization. And also, and I, highly recommend LinkedIn is a great platform if utilized correctly and intentionally. Also look outside of your organization for people with different roles. I'm trying to learn, maybe you're doing a career pivot or you want to learn something different. Go outside the organization. Hey, do you have 5 or 10 minutes to chat? You'd be surprised the number of people that have said yes. I used our internal, in one organization I was in, we had, if you guys remember, I'm gonna age myself, we had something called Yammer. But basically it was like an internal Facebook. And I was very curious about other countries like China and that were doing and working with this product we had in Trusto. So I would set up calls with sales leaders outside the country to understand the processes that we were doing. There are things that they were looking at. While the laws were a little different in how they engaged, there was still an Entresto patient at the end of that. And I learned so much, and actually, which led to a role of becoming one of the global learning leaders because of that natural curiosity. So those would be my hints in connecting with leaders. Just remember, at the end of the day, they're humans too. They're humans and they love to learn and they love to share. And some may say no, but you'd be really surprised how many actually will say absolutely yes, they will do it.
I totally agree. Sometimes we put ourselves too much pressure, say no, they won't answer. But what is going to happen if they don't answer? It's okay. But if they do, you gain
The
something.
worst
So
they can say is no. That's it.
exactly.
That's the worst thing
But
they can say.
not the end of the
No.
world.
And yep. And the power of the 10 or 15-minute chat is really, like, I've had so many leaders say, you know what, I was worried. I want to give you time. I always can find 10 minutes. And it really does make a difference.
I agree. So I think we are top of the hour, but it was so much. I have a pleasure talking to you, Brandy. I really enjoy. I think it has been a great opportunity for everybody to learn a little bit about you and your role in the organization that you have been leading. So we really appreciate everything that you have shared with us. I think it's going to stay for us for a long time, and I hope we also can apply and be a good leader as you are. And I don't know if Jamie, you have some more words to say, or Sahana, but Lisa, I really, again, thank you for taking this opportunity and for sharing all your knowledge with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I had a good time too, and I know we'll be crossing paths again here soon. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, and thank everybody for taking the time to joining us. We really appreciate it. I think the Unveiled team always is going to be a place for us to learn and to help each other, to be to have our support system when we don't know where is our leadership role or our jobs are going to go. But having this opportunity to help each other help us also to move forward in the direction that you choose. So if you can join or if you can share the work that is doing an Unveiled, please share. It's going to help all of us to move forward. But thank you so much, and have a great day and good weekend, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.